Hello, everyone, and welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every single Monday after the comics have arrived and we're done bagging and boarding them, Andy and I, we divide up the ones we most want to read and the ones that we think most people want to hear about, and we do what we call our spoiler light review show. So we're going to tell you about first appearances, major collectible reasons you might want these issues, but more than that, we're going to go through, especially with the number ones, and we're going to tell you what are these comics really about. What is the writing like? What is the art like? So that when you go in your shop, whatever day you go in, and there's the 30, 40 new titles on the wall, you know which ones are more to your liking.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say we have a pretty middle to small week this week.
Yep.
For one thing, I should mention our Image books and our IDW books have not arrived yet.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't a lot of them, but there are a few we won't be hitting for that reason. You know, there's like a new issue of Spawn. We will mention all these at the end.
Yep.
There's Star Wars Hyperspace Stories. I'm sure you would have done.
Yep.
Obviously. The new Blue book is out. I would be getting to that. But anyway, luckily, not a lot of those this week anyhow, so we really are hitting the majority of things. By the end of this video, I will have gone over 10 books. Andy will go over 10 books. So 20 total. We'll show all their variants and incentives. So let's go.
Yes, starting off with Green Arrow number 2. Yes, there are some number 1s this week, but I'm starting off with a number 2 because I loved issue number 1 of Green Arrow from a month or so ago. But I had a lot of questions about it. I really enjoyed it, but there's so many things in it. I was like, am I supposed to know what's going on here or all this different stuff? Well, I feel like it would have been great to have a double-sized first issue because issue 2 really gets into kind of the meat of what's going on. We learn about where Green Arrow is, where Oliver Queen is. If you read the first one, you saw a very weird shore that he washed up on. We learn about that. We even get a hint at that this is a thing that happens to him, and maybe there's more to it than just, writers wanting to do the old, he washes up on another beach. There might be some more elements to it that are preventing the Green Arrow family from all being together. Thought that was a really interesting thing. We also are seeing on the other side Black Canary and Roy Harper are now going to go after Amanda Waller. That was kind of the last thing that was said before Roy Harper's daughter vanished was, Amanda Waller has something to do with this. So they are on a collision course to find Amanda Waller because they know she's behind this. And on this strange new world where Oliver Queen is, there is someone hunting him. And that's where we get a new first appearance of a character called Troublemaker. You'll see her on one of the variant covers, but I don't know a whole lot about her yet. She's almost like one of those very likable, like bounty hunters where, it's just a job. Like we would probably be friends if I wasn't doing this type thing.
Right.
Very, like,
Don't take it personally.
yeah, don't. This is just business. I really hate I have to kill you type thing, but just overall such a fun issue, and I love the fact that like it answers questions that set up more questions. But, it's like every time something is answered, it just means the story is getting that much bigger. And so happy this got made into an ongoing series, or it's 12 issues now, but it's going to be ongoing, or is it officially ongoing?
I'm not sure. I think it's announced as just ongoing.
Okay,
Right.
because I feel like
I
this
believe
definitely
was turned into
deserves it.
ongoing.
Every time we think about it, it's like, oh yeah, 6, then 12, then ongoing. But I'm really looking forward to what is going to be happening in Green Arrow going forward.
And
So,
at our shop, we sold an astounding amount of this. Like people have been buying it, and everyone's been pretty happy with it.
yes.
I kind of wonder, did we sell more Green Arrow or more Green Lantern?
Yeah. There's even a joke about that in here about someone being like, "Oh, we haven't seen a Green Lantern around here in a while." And he's like, "Well, I'm Green Arrow." And they're like, "Oh, so you just shoot like pointy things?" He's like, "Yep." So it's pretty funny. That whole relationship, Lantern, Green Arrow thing is kind of brought up We've got some great variants for this. First off, we have the David Nakayama variant, one of those like kind of color bleed, color hold
Yeah.
variants with Roy. We've got here is the Sean Isaacs kind of character concept art. That's your new character, Troublemaker.
Mm.
And I have a feeling we're gonna see her again because I don't think her hair does the
I
fire
was
thing
gonna
in
ask
this
about the
issue.
flaming hair.
I don't think it does it in this issue, so it makes me think there's more planned for her. We're gonna be seeing more of her going forward. We also have this great uh this is the Takara variant with Red Canary and Red Arrow. And we have a 1 in 25 Edgecur variant. We're selling to our customers for $15.
All right, so who likes a good spy story? How about a spy story about a super spy who regularly goes up against superheroes? Well, this is Fury #1. This is a double-sized one-shot that is celebrating 60 years of Nick Fury, which Nick Fury's first appearance was in Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos back in May of 1963. So I like that, Marvel got it to the month and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, on the cover, we see Nick Fury Jr. So, this is a story that is going to span from 1940 all the way to present day in Marvel. It encompasses all the different Nick Furies: Nick Fury Senior, Junior, the Watcher version,
Mm-hmm.
who is known as the Unseen. But I guess I should start out by saying it does have a first appearance of a character who's taking up an old mantle. So this character is named Scorpio. So Scorpio was a major villain of Nick Fury Sr.'s, who was actually his brother. Okay. This Scorpio is a female version of that one. And you could probably guess it has something to do with family.
Mm.
This has a lot to do with family.
Yeah.
So this is written by Al Ewing, and Al Ewing is not at all afraid to write a broad story.
Yes.
And he's not afraid to draw from a lot of history. Al Ewing is this sort of writer. He has read all the classic stuff, so he was a great choice to write
Yeah.
this. And it sort of begins where Nick Fury Jr. goes up against Scorpio, and she reveals that she is really awesome, really tough. She gets her objective, but he gets something from her, one strand of hair. And that kind of begins the mystery. DNA analysis,
Mhm.
got to go into Nick Fury Sr.'s files. The art style changes. There are 4 different artists that work on this book so that the art style can keep changing throughout the eras. So it's a big mystery, but as with the one shot, it will all be revealed in the end. There is hints of more to come, though. But if you're a fan of spy stuff, of just the Fury stuff, this is a really good one shot that I think Al Ewing very lovingly wrote. He wanted really to represent, hey, this is a character who he could have fallen away from the Marvel universe with all the superhero stuff, but instead, no, he kind of helps control it
Mm-hmm.
all. And his mantle has been passed around a few times. So that is what I have to say on Fury #1 one shot. If you do pick it up, it's going to take you 4 times as long as the other comics.
Yeah.
There is that kind of story to it.
The bit of it I read too is like that kind of espionage where it's like you think this person has the upper hand, but then
Yeah.
this person turns around and is like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Then this person has something. Somebody pulls off a mask and then it's somebody else. And that very, very fun, like, oh my gosh, who is actually in control here?
Yep. I've read Al Ewing do so much cosmic stuff lately. This is not at all that. It's nice
Yeah.
to see, he's like, no, I got the voice of this spy Fury
Yeah.
stuff, but just how much it has changed over the eras. So we got 2 variants for it. This is the Samney variant. And then here is the Del Mundo variant.
I also like that there's a place for both Nick Furies in the Marvel Universe. They each serve their own purposes, and it's cool that there's a book that incorporates both of them. Next up, I have Storm #1. So much in the style of a lot of recent Marvel miniseries, this is kind of a I don't know, they need a word for it, but that like takes place during a specific Marvel period.
Right.
So this book, written by Ann Nocenti, who is very familiar with writing the X-Men, a classic writer, and the art is by Sid Koshin. It takes place at this point. I mean, you can see on the cover, Storm has the Mohawk. It's the Mohawk era. It's right when Storm takes over leading the X-Men, right after, all the stuff with the Morlocks, right after Rogue joins the X-Men from being on the Brotherhood. This is a very, like, tumultuous time within the X-Men. We have some of the old guard that are still there, but a lot of new ones. You have Kitty Pryde, who's come onto the team, who is very green, very new to all of this. Doesn't necessarily love being told what to do by the new leader, Storm. You have characters like Colossus, who are still there. You have Wolverine. All of this, they are going up against the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and you really see it's kind of Storm's first take at issuing orders to the X-Men for a fight. She has a lot of new ideas about, pairing. Okay, Wolverine, you take on Blob. Kitty, you take on this character, and how that all works. But they don't necessarily love her coming in here and doing that. They all think they kind of know better. And this is a very kind of crying time for Storm when people call out, like, why are you the one to tell us what to do? And I think it's I can't remember if it's Rogue or Kitty that's basically like, you were treated as a goddess, you were a thief, you were an original X-Men member. Why should you tell us what to do when your own personality changes so much and now you're like this biker girl? So it's really interesting setup for this book, and all of that culminates when something which you wouldn't think would be a big deal for someone like Storm. She falls into the ocean and is pulled by the undertow. And something about this really affects Storm. And it looks like there's another character there who has some weather controlling abilities that may have something to do with it. Their name is Blowback. I won't give away anything more than that, but if you are a fan of that era of the X-Men, that I don't want to say it's like dialogue heavy, but everyone in every scene has something to say. Whether it's Wolverine commenting on how he's fighting Blob and how he's gonna try to take him down, or Kitty commenting on, like, aren't my powers cool? I can walk through fire and stuff like that. You will definitely like this if you're a classic, almost Claremont era fan of the X-Men. So this is the A cover for Storm #1. We also have this really nice Art Germ variant. We have this Caselli variant as well. Those Marvel Icon variants.
I just think of Wolverine mouthing off, and Storm turns to Colossus, and she's like, "Pick him up and throw him."
Yeah.
It'll be called the fastball special, and it works out.
Yeah, yeah. It actually, it's like they knock somebody over with it, like, we can make this work.
Do it or I'll electrocute you. Okay, so I read Nightwing number 104. This is the end of the current arc where they're going up against Neron, and it is quite a great ending, I must say. So, last issue, Neron, against Nightwing's will, gave him super magical powers. I mean, Nightwing in this issue can fly. He's almost as strong as Superman. He's almost as fast as Flash. And Neron's like, you have these powers for 2 hours. What will you do with them? And of course, Nightwing doesn't want to fall into any traps, so he's hesitant to use it. But Neron points out that that his fellows are being attacked in Themyscira, and Olivia, the girl they're trying to rescue, is part of that. So he has to go use the powers. And after that, you get to see him do a few other things. He gets to do some things that usually only like bigger, more powerful heroes get to do. We get to see him hang out with Flash and the Speed Force. We get to see him and Superman shake hands, where Superman doesn't have to hold back so much. Superman kind of takes Dick Grayson to places that no human can really go, so they can have a talk about what Superman really sees in the world.
Mm.
Some of here's a new perspective on why to do good. It's really cool seeing Nightwing with these powers, and it makes you wonder, what would you do in the DC universe if you had, pretty much like Superman powers for 2 hours?
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Now, how is all that part of Neron's plans? You'll have to see. He's going to use it to try to corrupt Nightwing. Will it work? Will it not? You'll have to see how all that goes. But I will say another little secret about Raven comes up at the end that is supposed to be continued in the Titans series as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, finale to this arc, but more continues, and quite a worthy finale. So we have the nail pen variant, and we have, of course, the Campbell variant. Like all the use of color there.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have the Georgia variant. It's a 1 in 25 that we are charging $20 for.
I also like all that with him showing Superman showing him that it's kind of adding to why Nightwing's such a good leader is he's getting such like a broad perspective on things and kind of can and lead the team better. It's cool. Okay, next up I have a new book from DC. This is City Boy #1. So I was really looking forward to this book. I like the little hints that we got of him during Lazarus Planet and just the little stuff he's popped up in, but he hasn't been anything more than just a few pages. And this issue gives us our origin of City Boy, which is really cool. So his name is Cameron, and he's not necessarily a good guy. He's kind of been forced to just fend for himself. He doesn't necessarily have the resources to be like a superhero and protect the weak and all of that. He basically can only scrounge up enough money and stuff to feed himself. But he does have the powers to. They call it speaking to cities. In his origin, you get a little bit more of how this is possible. But part of his powers kind of look like he can see the city as like a mini map in a video game with kind of hot spots around it for whatever he's looking for. So he can find, money that's under a little bit of dirt, or he can find someone lost their earbud under this park bench. He can kind of do that stuff. He does say, he can dig deeper than that, but he doesn't want to awaken something, which I think is a very interesting concept. But it keeps flashing back between kind of modern day where this homeless man has kind of tagged along with him because he's seen, oh, you can find stuff and you can help me out. And then we get the past where we see that City Boy in his kind of street urchin days ran into the wrong room when an experiment was going down. So it's all really interesting, but there is a moment, kind of something that to do with a local gang. This is more like a Yakuza level gang that forces him maybe more in the path of good, where he sees an opportunity for his powers to be used for better. I just love the idea of his powers and the way it's expressed in this, kind of what he can do with it is so full of possibilities. Part of it kind of feels like X-ray vision. Like he can see someone walking towards him and the person has a gun on them because it's all the city telling him this. But there's a lot more to this. I think is going to be when it's explored further. Is going to be really cool. So this was by Greg Pak, and the art is by Minkyu Jung, and I think this is really going to go place. It almost felt like a new Image book. The way it was is very original in a lot of its ideas. So highly recommend City Boy #1. And we've got some variants for this one as well. This is the Tefingi variant. Very cool design. And we have a Choi variant as well. This is a 1 in 25 that we're selling for $20.
Okay, so I read Extreme Venomverse issue #2. So this is the series. It's going to lead up to the end of the Venomverse, which is the big Venom event coming up during this whole summer of symbiotes. But in this, they're doing little snippets of different Venoms throughout the multiverse, some of which get pulled in by the good guys who are going to need their help for this upcoming end of the Venomverse. And so here are the three on the cover that we meet. So it's three different stories by three different creative teams. The first story, it is Felicia Hardy. She steals the Venom symbiote from Reed Richards. So when Spider-Man originally got the suit from the moon and Secret Wars, he takes it to Reed Richards. He's experimenting on it. Well, in this universe, Felicia Hardy is like, I'm stealing it. So she puts it on and goes up against the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man as they don't really give her a name, but Black Cat Venom. So that's a really cool story. The second story is about the Venom we see in the middle there. He is called the Life LMV, Life Model Venom. It's a really kind of silly and weird story to me, even though it's not really written that way exactly. You have Shield and Dum Dum Dugan. They have lured the Venom symbiote to a fake life-size model of Eddie Brock. So it's like here's this life-size Eddie Brock robot, I guess,
Yeah.
and the symbiote connects with him, but really it's a trap. It's like we got you, and now you work for us.
Mm.
But of course, it's not that easy, especially when Carnage shows up and he has to battle Carnage. The third one is the one in the background there. It is the Venom from 1602 Marvel Universe. This was my favorite story because it is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of the Red Death. I mean, it's even sort of written that way. Um, and I will say this, that this Venom, he is not the Red Death. And if he's not the Red Death, you can probably guess who is.
It's interesting because there's not that many characters in that story.
And I will also say, well, it happens at a party,
Okay.
and so I'll also say if you know your Poe, it ends pretty much exactly like Mask of the Red Death.
Mm.
So anyhow, I thought that was really cool. And some of these characters you will see in the end of the Venomverse series. They're not all exactly one shots. They will be back in that. So here are your variants. You got your Peach Momoko variant. You have your Ryan Stegman variant with a character that was not in this issue. And you have your Ken Lashley variant with the life-size model Venom.
It's an interesting take because Marvel has the life model decoys,
Right.
but to think like, oh, if a Venom could kind of work its way onto one of those, that's a
That's why it
cool.
made me laugh, but I get it. It's just
Being a symbiote, usually
I
you could
just
take
think they
something from
would
the host, and there's not much to take from a
I
robot.
just think they would know too,
Yeah,
but you just got to go with it.
yeah, that's the fun part of it. Okay, next up, I've got a beginning of a new miniseries. This is Daredevil and Echo. So Daredevil and Echo, this is written by Taboo and B. Earl. Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas. He's done a few comic work here and there. The art is done by your cover artist. This is Phil Noto. And this is a really interesting story because it takes place in two time frames, kind of modern Marvel universe. It's hard to tell. It's not uh, Daredevil looks more like traditional Daredevil. He's not the bearded one from the current like ongoing Daredevil story. But Elektra's in it as Daredevil as well. So it's kind of pseudo modern Marvel. So it takes place during that, but also in 1835 Manhattan, where there is seems some descendants of Matt Murdock and Echo that exist at that point as well. So I'm not sure if it's a first appearance of either of them. I would assume so, but I don't know how you know,
How
big of a
pertinent that
characters those
is,
are going to
right?
be. Um, but in the modern day, there has been a slew of murders where the murder victims are missing a pound of flesh, which, is kind of a saying. And
That's straight out of Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice.
yep. And so it's interesting to see Daredevil kind of slowly figure this out, and he's gonna go to Echo to get help with it. But all the while, there's also some strange thing going on with the kids around Hell's Kitchen as well, that may all lead, of course, to tying the two stories together. It kind of gives away more in the solicitation than it gives away in the first issue. But there possibly is a new version of the Demo Goblin, one of the MIDI Marvel Universe goblins. But this one is, I believe, from the 1835 time frame. So you have to read it to find out. But very interesting series. If you are a fan of Daredevil, you're looking for some more Daredevil that's not quite as tied up in all of the big stuff that's going on with the main series. This one is great. Also, Echo hasn't appeared in too much stuff. So it'll be great for you to check that one out too. Daredevil Echo #1, and some variants for this as well. We have the Declan Shalvey variant with Demo Goblin right there on the cover. And we have the Caselli variant, the Marvel icon. And there she's more in her Phoenix Force
You're
suit.
right.
But I believe this story is post Phoenix Force, also because Echo can speak.
So I read Unstoppable Doom Patrol #3. It still says 3 of 6. Come on, let's rally it up, get DC to make this at least a 12-issue series, if not ongoing. So this one, I like this issue a lot. It really reads a lot like a standalone. It sort of starts in media res because you have Robot Man and Negative Man, and they are trying to protect this new character they have in the back seat here, who is somebody who just gained new superpowers. Unfortunately, the superpowers they gained have to do with Starro.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the Green Lanterns are not taking any chance. They just want to, imprison this person. And he has reached out to the Doom Patrol because he's like, I think you guys may understand that I am a weird thing. I am not just a Starro controlled person, and you get the whole origin of it, which is really interesting. But I'd say the best part of this is really just Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner. They just talk about how much they hate the Doom Patrol and how annoying they are and how much they gum up the works. Meanwhile, Robot Man and Negative Man are just like, you know what? We're gonna beat these Green Lanterns. We don't care. They're not getting our guy. It's just a straight out um, fight, but not like it's a moving battle.
Yeah.
The whole time. The Green Lanterns, they use a lot of creative powers, and of course the Doom Patrol have to do the same to try to beat them. And you'll just have to see where it goes. But it sort of all gets resolved in the end, except there is the hints of a new villain. I will say it's not as simple as, oh, it's the guy they're trying to protect. It's not that
Mm-hmm.
simple. So there is not a new villain, but a rising villain for the next issue that's kind of revealed by the end of this. Here we have the variants. It is the Janin variant. This doesn't happen in Guy Gardner's fantasies. It does.
Yeah.
Here is the Dennis Culver variant. This is great. So
That
this
one's
is
cool.
foil. It looks even better in real life. Dennis Culver is the writer of this series who has just been trying to pour everything he can into making this a really good read. He's not trying to like do some grand work of art. He's just trying to do a really solid comic series where every issue you go, wow, I'm glad I read that,
Yeah.
And I think so far he's doing a good job.
Next up, I have Star Wars Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red #2. So I believe this is only a 4 issue. Yeah, it's just a 4 issue miniseries, but it's got the one ongoing story through it and then 2 extra stories. So we continue on with our story by Jason Aaron, which is really cool, where Vader has been captured and some bad guys are going to. I mean, it's funny to say bad guys next to Vader, but some people opposing Vader, but that are not good guys for sure, are going to attempt to basically chop Vader up and sell his pieces to the highest bidder. But even with Vader completely strapped down, can't move a muscle, he is still a major threat. So much so that's almost like a horror movie about how he is going to get to these people without even lifting a finger. So that one's really fun. There is also the story by David Prepos and Alessandro Vitti that's called The Endless Mercy, which is the name of a ship that is transporting what the creator of it is considering the most dangerous, perfect killing machine there's ever been. But Vader might have something to say about that, considering he considers himself the perfect killing machine. And then there is a story called Power by Victoria Ying and Mariko Cresta. And in this one is about a boy who's trying to provide for his family on kind of a backwater planet. But every time he goes into town, there's some thugs that mess with him. But that's all until Vader and the Empire show up, and even those thugs now become kind of the victims, and this kid sees what true power really is as he slightly idolizes Vader. So, three really fun stories. I've really enjoyed this and getting some different flavors of the character. So, this is our A cover for that. There's also the LaRocca variant. And there is this 1 in 25 Shalvey variant we're selling for $25.
All right, next up, I read Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis issue number 4. So we're getting pretty far into this mini series where Steve Orlando just keeps adding to the sort of newer 2099 universe he has been building. And it's like I feel like he's even taking older characters and even either updating them or creating different versions of them, because there is a Daredevil 2099 in here that has a different outfit than any Daredevil 2099 previously seen, because there was an old Marvel Knights 2099 series with the Daredevil in it, and doesn't look like the same person, but I mean, it could just be an outfit change. Also, his Punisher 2099 in this is just really different than the one we've seen before too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying on our shorter show, it reminds me of a RoboCop, sort of like but more looking like a man or
Yeah.
acting a little bit that way. So you'll have to read it to see. Somebody even talks about how, Punisher, he was already so silent, but this guy, he is like silent like the grave.
Mm.
So in this Carnage 2099, which I could say that word 1,000 times in this review, so I'm just gonna leave it off the end of people's names now. Anyone he kills, he gets to control like zombies. And so the group, they're up against a lot of people. Also, Halloween Jack is in this. And so you got Miguel, you got Spider Woman, you've got Moon Knight, and a few others just trying to survive this onslaught of carnage. So that is what is going on in that issue. And we have the awesome Ken Lashley variant with that Punisher I was talking about. And now you can add back in all the 2099s to the end of everyone's name.
Yeah, yeah. Until the year rolls over and then there are 3,000 or
2100.
2,100. Yeah. That doesn't have the same ring to it. Punisher 2,100. Okay, next up I have issue 3 of Hallows Eve. So I've been looking forward to this issue because this is the kind of first official confrontation between Hallows Eve and Spider-Man. Now, Hallows Eve, she's a really cool character because yes, she's kind of a villain, but she's been put in that position um when in the first issue when she was trying to get away from a she was robbing a place, but it was really just to get money to go off and start a new life and turn over her life of crime, where she put on the werewolf mask, accidentally bit a security guard, turned him into a werewolf, and now the company that gave her, her and Ben Riley like a place to live and all of that, wants this werewolf security guard, and she is going to try to track him back to where they're located. But this one's really cool because of course, as she's attempting to track this, Spider-Man shows up. They do have a throwdown. It's fun to see her switching masks out and what the different powers she gets are. But Spider-Man may have found a way to kind of bypass her masks, and I feel like we finally found her weakness. So you have to read it to find out what that is. It's pretty simple,
Wet
but
to the face and then yank it
it's
off.
not too far from the truth. Um, but what I also love in this is, out of desperation, she puts on the vampire mask. Much like the werewolf mask, the vampire mask is very dangerous because just like when she bit someone as the werewolf, she's really worried about creating more monsters as the vampire. She does get the great, she can fly, she can do all these things, but her relationship with the mask and trying to be good, like she doesn't just want to create chaos with all of these, is kind of I feel like the heart of this series. But really fun. Even Spider-Man notes is like, oh, I didn't know Morbius had a sister. Really fun issue, and highly recommend this. I hope we see her kind of pop up throughout the Spider-Man universe because she's a very compelling character. That was our A cover. We have this really nice Sway variant, and I feel like this is one of his best in recent times, the Scotty Young variant. It's very fun, very Halloween.
The colors
The
off of that are
colors,
really nice
yeah.
too. All right, so I read Harley Quinn issue number 30. This, of course, is by the most recent Harley team of Teeny Howard and Sweeney Boo. Sweeney Boo is still doing her thing of switching up the art throughout, which
Mhm.
I've really enjoyed. It feels like there's multiple artists working on this when it's just her. She does two different art styles in this because it begins with Harley's hyenas who have gained the power to talk lately. You'll have to read last issue to see how that happened. And they tell her why this Joker fish looking thing that has messed up somehow some other universe real bad, why it is terrible that she had it when it was supposed to be somewhere else. I won't reveal everything, but the tale has to do with Captain Carrot and his universe.
Oh.
It's him and the zoo crew up against Backside. Backside is their universe's dark side, and he needed that fish for something really important. And of course, Harley, she's had it. It takes her forever to return it. So Harley, she has to get some advice from. So the art is one way when you're in the Captain Carrot universe, very bright, very cartoony. But then you go to the normal art style in Harley's universe, where she gets some advice from Doctor Fate, and she builds her own device to move through the multiverse. Yes, all this happens in this issue. And so this and a lot more happen in Harley issue number 30. And here we have the variant, a beautiful Jenny Frizen variant.
Very Margot
Yep,
Robbie.
definitely channeling Margot Robbie for sure.
Next up, I've got Justice Society of America #4. Now, it feels like there's been quite a gap in between issues of Justice Society of America, and thankfully, it kind of gives you a recap. So the big stuff in this one, Madame Xanadu is using that snow globe that's been in all of this stuff really since like uh Doomsday Clock and all of that. This snow globe that has some kind of a multiversal energy in it. She is going to attempt to look into it and read the future and the story of Helena Wayne, the current version of Huntress in this, that is from the future, where she is the daughter of Catwoman and Batman. Xanadu is looking at this. She even sees the death of Batman, which is very interesting. But this is where we do get our tease. When something happens, we get our tease of the upcoming Golden Age books. And what I think is interesting, if you look on the corner under the 4, it says the new Golden Age. So this is kind of I don't want to say it's an imprint, but it's like a within DC Universe separate thing that they're going to be building on, because we're getting a new Jay Garrick book, we're getting a new Alan Scott book, a new Sandman book, and those are all teased in this issue. Probably why they put a little gap in between issues to get those announced before this happened. Um, there is also a explanation of why Helena is so dangerous to our villain, our time traveling villain, Degaton, through all of this, and uh, some hints at some future stories that I think is pretty notable. A lot of places are kind of. I saw an article about how this is really setting up some big stuff coming up in the DC universe, and you can really see that. The other big thing is Helena is going to attempt to meet current day Batman. And what will that mean
That's interesting.
for Batman? And whenever stuff like that happens, it definitely makes Batman readjust his way of thinking, like when he met his father, Thomas Wayne, and stuff. And so now Helena is going to uh, go and find Batman, and the Justice Society aren't too happy about this because this could definitely mess up the future. So overall, this is a really good issue. I even would go as far as say, like, if you hadn't read the first 3, you could still understand what's going on this one because there's a good recap. but a lot of big pieces are moving in this book, so I think a lot of people will really enjoy it.
Jeff Johns could write a really good Maury Povich episode where Batman is like, "I am not the father,"
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. But when he learns that the mother's Catwoman, he might be okay with it. He's like, oh, somehow we're gonna get there. Okay, and then we also have the Yannick Paquette variant as well, with big stuff going on between uh, Dr. Midnight and Wildcat, that there may be a whole separate side of the Justice Society that's into some nefarious things with them. So read it to find out, but very good issue.
Okay, so here's an issue I was waiting to read. I was very happy to get to. It is Warlock Rebirth issue number 2 by the Ron's team. Ron Mars as writer and Ron Lim as artist. I love this cover because here you have Eve Warlock on it. You see she's got the soul gem on her forehead because she stole that right off of Adam Warlock last episode or last issue. She just beat the crap out of him, beat up everybody in her way. She is really serious. She's like a stone cold, I will just do whatever I want type of character. Well, in this issue, you get to learn who is her creator, where did the cocoon come from, who made this happen, and also why. So you will learn that. I will not reveal it on the show. You got to read it yourself. It is a pretty powerful known villain, though. Meanwhile, the rest of the Infinity crew, they weigh, should we use our Infinity Stones? You know, this is bad. Warlock, he seems like he might be dead. He's at least not waking up.
Mm,
Gamora really doesn't want to use the time gem, and I get that. You know, like when you meddle with time,
yeah.
she's just had too much bad happen with that. But they do go to Doctor Strange for help. And Doctor Strange is going to try to get Adam Warlock's spirit back in his body to wake up because they need him to fight this Eve Warlock. The problem is Adam may be somewhere where he doesn't want to leave. And what
Mm.
does that mean for the team? Because Eve Warlock is just beating everybody up, and it seems like you're going to need Adam to try to stop her. So that is what is going on in issue number 2. Here is a great variant by Phil Noto. And then we have one other by Ashley Wernick. It's a Stormbreakers variant with Rocket.
Okay, next up, I've got Star Wars High Republic number 10. This is the final issue of this phase of the High Republic. This wraps up your story for the most part for the comic side of it. We've got our final showdown between Vildar Mac, the Jedi, and the Herald of the Path of the Open Hand. Uh, I will actually say I don't want to give away like the ending, but it's very rare that there's something that resembles a happy ending in a Star Wars book. It's usually happy ending at a cost.
I agree. Or Trouble is Brewing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this had a really great ending. But there's also the tease on the final page, like they've been doing, that more High Republic is coming. We kind of knew that with Phase 3, but if you had any worry that Marvel wasn't continue their part of it, there's more coming with that as well. We have some of the variants. This is the Lopez variant. And then we also have a 1 in 25 Lionel U variant that we are selling for $25.
Okay, so I read Hellcat number 3. Now, issue number 2 had quite the ending where Patsy was shot multiple times by police. She doesn't have the powers to survive
No.
stuff like that. I mean, she wasn't dead, but she was pretty gravely wounded. Well, in this issue, her mind and spirit are sort of part of the way in the regular world and part of the way in hell. Why in hell? Well, that's the domain of her ex fiance, boyfriend, husband. I forget if they were actually married. I think they were, Damon. And she might receive a little help there, but at what cost? Meanwhile, you have Sleepwalker who's doing his own investigation into this whole thing is a murder mystery over who killed Patsy Walker's newest boyfriend. And Sleepwalker is going up against Blackheart. Blackheart is somehow involved in this, and Blackheart kind of alludes to the fact that this murdered boyfriend may have had some really nasty hobbies
Hmm.
that actually got him killed. So just more on the mystery of that. Of course, a lot of this links in with Hellcat. Some of it has to do with their father. So kind of hard for me to pull you in there if you haven't been
Yeah.
reading, but just really good storytelling. This is a really cool mini series, especially if you like your mystery with your superheroes. So here we have the variants. Here is the Hola variant. And we have a Baldian Spider-Verse variant.
Okay, next up, I've got Action Comics. This is Action Comics number 1055. And no spoiler there, but it is revealed issue or so ago that Cyborg Superman is the big bad that was controlling Metallo. And in this, Metallo teams up with Superman and his family to hunt down Cyborg Superman. It's really fun. There's a ton of action where the Super family is fighting Cyborg Superman's clones because essentially Hank Henshaw can kind of his spirit can inhabit electrical things, and so all of the drones are kind of part of him, but they're looking for the main source of that. Where is Cyborg Superman? So they have to enlist the help of another Reign of the Superman character, one of the four. I
Mm.
won't say which one it is, but very interesting stuff there. Plus, we get some really good backstory on Metallo, what made him who he is, and you've got your continuing story with Superman and Lois 2 uh, in there, and the it feels like they haven't called it the prelude to Steelworks, but the Steel backup story that definitely feels like a prelude to the new Steel series coming up as well. So great issue of Action Comics. I love anything with Cyborg Superman in it. We have this Bernard Chang variant, and we have this one, which I know a lot of people are talking about. This is the Sandoval variant. That's an homage to the classic, for Reign of the Supermen characters.
Cyborg Superman came around right around Terminator 2.
It's weird, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
very odd.
Okay, so I read Thor issue number 34. So there is a lot of story going on up to this point. Like, I mean, if you look at the first page, it's like 3 paragraphs of last few times on Thor. So I'm not going to go into all that. I will tell you the high points of this issue, which are that, as you see on the cover, you get a battle between Doctor Doom and Thanos. I mean, that
Yeah,
alone,
that's a
they
dream
could have
fight.
just had a double page one shot on that, and that would have been cool enough. And funny enough, Doom, he often falls on the side of you're the protagonist because there's, no one else to do something good, or the guy you're going up is worse than you. That's how it works in this one.
Mm.
Because Thanos, he's after the Black Stone, but he learns it is not a Black Stone. It is actually a baby imbued with the powers of this Black Stone that was trying to be created. And he pretty much figures out, oh, okay, I just have to sacrifice this baby, and I could probably destroy the universe. That sounds great. Well, Doctor Doom, he's a pretty bad guy, but he's not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And that is what spurs the battle on, with Doctor Doom having to protect this child. Now, who is the child? You will learn their identity by the end of this issue, and it is sort of a untold origin of a major god character that is appropriate. Like when all the pieces fall into place, you'll go, okay, that makes
Mm.
sense. So I will just leave you with that as far as some of what goes on in Thor issue number 34. And here is the Garen Spider-Verse variant for that issue.
I feel like Thor Spider-Man's powers is just like he would forget he has them because he just doesn't need those powers. He can fly. He's got super strength.
The hammer comes back. You don't have to web it and pull it back.
Yeah. My last one is Flashpoint number one special edition. What makes this a special edition? That it's out now and not back then, I guess. This is a kind of a facsimile version, not even a facsimile, because I don't think it has the original ads in it.
Right, it's just
So
sort of a
it's
reprint.
just a reprint of Flashpoint number one, getting you ready for the new Flashpoint movie. If you've never read it, highly suggest picking it up. Pick this one up, pick up the trade. Flashpoint is a great story. It's a reason why they're making a movie of it, but definitely a fun one there.
Yeah, they told us comic stores that it's like, hey, get Flashpoint on your shelves because after the Flash movie, people are going to come in and they're going to want to know more about this, and
Yeah.
they're not all going to want to buy a trade. Some are just going to want a taste of it.
Yep.
So that is sort of why they did this Flashpoint facsimile, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
I like it when all the movies and shows can bring people back to that
Yeah.
source material that a lot of us kind of loved first.
Hmm.
So my last one is definitely a classic as well. They are doing an Iron Man #1 facsimile issue is out this week. So this is a true facsimile, meaning it will have all the original ads and things of that sort. It's pretty much just like the original, except a barcode because we got to use our technology
Yeah.
to track sales and all. So this was originally written in 1968 by Archie Goodwin. The artist Gene Colan. It's Iron Man's first solo ongoing series. In it, he fights Whiplash, he fights AIM. You have Nick Fury and Shield. They make appearances in it. So just a really iconic book, and here is your chance to get a one in great condition that you can read over and over again at an affordable price. Okay, so that is the 20 comics that we have read. We've shown you the variants, we've shown you the incentives, but that's not all that is out this week. So, as far as other books that are out this week, first up, there is Bishop War College #4,
There's also New Mutant Lethal Legion,
The Excellent issue #3,
PC Ruby #4.
Sandman Universe Dead Boy Detectives, issue #6, the final issue,
We also have Static, Shadows of Dakota #4,
Tim Drake Robin #9,
and some of the ones we didn't get to go over, but I really wish we could have if we had them, like Ambassadors #5,
Blue Book #4,
Darkwing Duck #5,
Dead Romans issue #3,
Dungeons and Dragons Saturday Morning Adventures #3.
Fearless Dawn with the new series The Bomb issue #1 is out this week.
We have Indigo Children #3,
King Spawn hits issue #22.
Neighbors #3,
Nightclub #5.
Star Wars Hyperspace Stories #5. You know, I would have been reviewing it if I
That
had it.
that might be the first Star Wars that you've missed reviewing early, like
I might
in
have to do it next
ages.
week just to make sure I don't miss any.
Supermassive 2023.
Yeah.
That's the one shot from the Supermassive universe.
Hmm. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Usagi Yojimbo Where When #3.
Vampirella versus Superpowers #1. New Vampirella series.
Vanish #7.
What's the furthest place from here? #13.
And Exo Man of War Unconquered #3.
So that is all the other stuff that is out this week. So many things. So thank you for watching. If you watch on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if you are looking to purchase these very comics, they're on our website right now. You can easily go there and purchase any of these. Our website is in infinityflux.net. We also allow people to subscribe to comics or just order individual issues. Anything that you pre-order, you get 10% off of, and you get our appreciation that you are helping to fund our channel, our store. So, and once again, thank you to everyone that's already done this.
Yep.
We actually have had quite a few people ordering from us now. We really appreciate it. Anyhow, this is us for this week signing off. We will see you on Friday with our show, Comics from the Future, and our 10 comics to order in a flash
Mhm.
show as well. So thank you, and we will see you then.